something that they were talking about. And like I said, the COVID-19, the real question is, will the vaccine help people, and will it, protect the people around you? Well, all this, they're real questions. They were not sure if the jab would stop transmissions. And there was concern, those vaccinated might stop taking precautions and, potentially lead to a rise in infection. But with some now refusing the vaccine in the belief that it will not stop them passing on the virus, is this caution becoming counterproductive? So a number of people, have been saying that they believe the jab could stop them becoming severely ill only. That is what they're saying. So the evidence is moving fast. So protection from the vaccine may not be perfect, and people still need to be careful. But this essentially doesn't mean, that it provides no protection to others. So in fact, it's becoming increasingly clear that the vaccine, is it's a very big step towards protecting those around you, particularly, people who are vulnerable, including the elderly and those with care needs such as learning disabilities or mental illness. So a growing number of real world evidence suggests it stops a big chunk of people catching the virus at all. So if you don't get infected in the first place, you cannot infect other people. So yeah, remember that's not going to happen. So yeah, if you think of it as a ladder, the worst case of COVID's effects is intensive care admission or death. So at the top, and at the mildest, no or asymptomatic infection, and that is at the bottom. So yeah, being vaccinated effectively moves people down the rungs of this ladder. So even the small number who do not receive complete protection might move on from a very serious risk of dying down to a mild or moderate symptom. And those, who would have very mild or asymptomatic COVID without the jab are probably, most likely to move down to no infection at all. So yeah, the question is, though, what is the government saying about this? Well, there was an officially said that there has been some early evidence that suggests vaccines do not have an impact on transmission, but the full impact on the infection rates will not become clear until a large number of people have been vaccinated. So yeah, it is important to continue following the national restrictions, instructions from the NHS test and trace, and to self-isolate if you are instructed to do so, even if you've had the vaccine. So this is what the government is trying to say. So even if you did get the vaccine, you make sure you guys follow instructions, follow the national restrictions, and self-isolate if you are required to do so. And if you're asked to do so, even if you have had the vaccine, it doesn't matter. Follow what the government is trying to tell you, because it's all for your benefit. So yeah, regular testing of participants in the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine trials with or without symptoms found positive tests fell by more than half. So that is a big number right there. So yeah, and this suggests, the potential for a substantial reduction in transmission. The team reviewing the trial results said all of this, and the Pfizer BioNTech trial participants, meanwhile, were tested only if they had symptoms. But there was a study done later that required like 40,000 people, health workers in England rather, suggested one Pfizer dose cut the risks of infection, symptomatic or otherwise, by 70%, and 2 doses by 85%. That's right. If you've had the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine, you're going to get a 75% of, the risk of infection is going to be cut down to 70%. And if you get 2, it's going to be 85%. I mean, it's good numbers. It's very promising numbers right there. So that's, what's being said right now. And people, living with the vaccinated NHS staff in England were considerably less likely to catch the virus than those living with unvaccinated health workers. So providing direct evidence the jab can protect others. And a separate analysis of the test results of hospital workers in Cambridge found a 75% decrease in asymptomatic infections after vaccination. So yeah. In Israel, also, the Pfizer vaccine appeared, to reduce a lot of these infections, almost all by as much as 90%. That's right, it's 90%. And although the Minister of Health could not be certain of the precise number, as not everyone came forward for the symptomatic tests, 90% though is what they're saying. And a different study though in Israel as well saw that the infection there had been much lower, and the viral load, the people that shed less virus, meaning they had less contagious as well. The virus was less contagious in those people. So essentially what happened was it lowered the risk of getting the illness. So that is just something that is happening. Then there's been a lot of similar conclusions, being drawn from patients in the US and, care home residents in England. So that's just something. But are asymptomatic cases less contagious anyway? That is the question that you should be asking. Well, asymptomatic COVID cases do seem to be less contagious, although those without symptoms may actually infect more people if they continue their normal activities. So if you don't follow restrictions, if you don't follow the instructions that the government has laid, and if you try to go out and out of your way, doing stuff that you're not supposed to be doing, well, the rate of the infections is just going to be, it's just going to stay in the normal mean. You don't want that. You want it to drop. So there's been a lot of these studies as well that show, an estimate between a third and a half of new cases were caught this way. People not following the restrictions and not following the guidelines that the government has set up on. So yeah, the problem is people are most infectious at a very high risk of passing on the virus the day or two before symptoms develop. That's right. Just before you get the symptoms, you are very highly, infectious, and you can actually pass on the virus to other people around you. They're more susceptible. They're more prone to contracting the virus. And it's just a couple of days before your symptoms develop. So that's just something that, you have to be aware of. You have to watch out for, especially. So, you can't judge whether you're infectious just based on your symptoms. You can't really 100% say, hey, since I'm having symptoms right now, I'm very infectious. No, it could be a day or two before you get the infection, before you get the symptoms, is where you're going to be the most high rate of infection. Like the infection rate is just going to skyrocket, and you don't even know that you're infectious until it's too late. And that is just a terrible, you don't want to be passing it on to people unknowingly. That's even worse. So make sure, you follow the guidelines, and it's a very simple thing. All you got to do is follow the guidelines that is set on you, and, keep maintaining it until everything gets back to normal, and until, everyone is vaccinated and gets safe. It's just a simple thing that people can do. And, but a lot of people, they try not to do it. And that's just a lot of this thing that is going on right now. But one of the things also when we're talking about, the vaccine as well, Pfizer says, trial of its COVID vaccine in children aged between 12 to 15 show 100% efficacy and a strong immune response. So yeah, although children, like I said, most of the people who are prone to this are people who are of the age groups of 59, 49. Doesn't mean though that just because you're 18, between the age of 18 to 29, you are immune to it. You're not. You are still susceptible to the virus, but it shows, the Pfizer vaccine is going to be 100% effective, and it gives a strong immune response to people, children rather, of age between 12 to 15. So there's been results, from trials in 2,260 adolescents in the US that suggest the vaccine is safe with no unusual side effects. So yeah, in case you guys didn't know, I just to keep you guys reminded though that there was an incident back in a month ago where the issue was the AstraZeneca vaccine had, links, possible side effects to blood clot. And then, the EMA found out that there's no such thing going on. WHO agreed with them. So there's nothing really going on about that. So right now, all the US is doing is confirming that there has not been any side effects whatsoever with the vaccine. So yeah, the drug company says it will submit its data to the US and European authorities for emergency use in 12 to 15 years old. So yeah, there are currently no plans though for children to be vaccinated in the UK. Right now, the plan is, like I said, to get everyone vaccinated by the end of June. That is the plan. That is the plan that Boris Johnson has set and laid out on. But yeah, before that though, we got to get all the people between the ages of 50 and above, and 49 and above and below to get vaccinated, and then finally get the people between the ages of 18 to 29 vaccinated. So that's just something that is that's going to happen eventually as time goes by, as everyone, if we follow the guidelines and make sure we stick to the rules and and we follow the regulations that have been placed onto us and adhere to it. So yeah. And with that, though, we got to take a real quick break and get back to some more music. Up next, we got Elderbrook, and this one's Back to My Bed. So check it out.